Now, this is Nights with Dennis Walter.
Round and round, up and down, through the streets of your town.
It's 8:07. Good evening, Dennis Walter with you. Good to be back. I'm sick of myself. I wanted to get back on air, and I am back tonight. We'll see how the voice holds up, but I'm looking forward to having a chat with you and all my contributors right through the evening, including Dr. Ross Walker. I haven't spoken to Ross for weeks and weeks. He had COVID. I got a bad, heavy cold. Oh, heavens. I wonder whether all this stuff is just a bit of a hangover of this COVID era. Anyway, we'll talk to Dr. Ross about health coming up at around 8:30. Darren and Andrew join me for the Wednesday nightcap, which will be terrific. Peter Hitchener, my mate, they're my mates too, Darren, Andrew and Peter Hitchener. My mate after 10 o'clock, Hitch, who I've known since 1989. We just laugh and have fun together. He is along with Talk of the Town. We've got a great quiz for you. It's about fruit tonight. And then plenty of great topics in the Daily Wrap coming up after 11 o'clock, 8:08. There's been plenty happening in news in the last few days. And joining me to talk about news of the day, Theo Zagrafos. Good evening to you, Theo.
Hi, Dennis. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back. Let's see how long the voice holds up. Someone should run a book on this. Oh, no, we don't promote gambling. That's right.
Absolutely, but we're not doing that here in the studio, running a book on that, Dennis. But it's great to hear you, and I hope we're going to have a great show tonight.
Well, the thing, Theo, is that when I'm not on air, I miss it very much, and I wanted to sort of roll the dice tonight. I've got a show this weekend, so we're just going to see whether the voice can hold up. But my doctor told me, he said I've had 8 people in, Dr. Jock. He said I've had 8 people in already today when I rang him on Monday. And then I've spoken to other people who said every second person they speak to in Melbourne at the moment have just suddenly lost their voice.
Oh, goodness.
You haven't lost yours.
No, but mine's not as important as yours or valuable to the community either, Dennis. But look, hopefully, maybe the rhythm of tonight makes it better for you, and the more you talk, the better it will get. That's the plan.
Now that was my theory to Taylor, my producer.
Yep.
Because sometimes when I've been off from singing jobs and I've had some sort of, I don't know, throat infection or whatever, which this isn't, sometimes you get on stage and it does work its way back in. Which means it's a hardy old, strong old instrument. But we'll see what happens now. Theo, news today that Australians would enjoy an extra week off, and we all love sort of our public holidays, and maybe an extra week off each year, boost the nation's wealth by a quarter if productivity increased across the economy to the level of other wealthy countries. That's what a report has found. My question to this is, how can you increase productivity when you can't get staff?
Well, absolutely, Dennis. And this was the Productivity Commission, of course, that's put forward this report. Staff is huge. But you know what I was thinking, Dennis, just before we came on air? Should we get through maybe more topics tonight so we can be more productive? Because this report is talking about the inputs that Australians are putting in. And when we go back to, I guess, the key factor there, and that is that it's all to do with workers and wages, that's probably going to be the decline, I think, of 1.1%, which was the last year that they've measured, would probably continue, because that's been declining now, I think, for the last 50, 60 years, since the 1960s, according to this report.
Oh, so this has been a consistent downscaling.
Absolutely.
Of productivity.
And so what they're saying is that if we don't continue as Australians, as a country, I guess, to make up that gap, we're going to have some serious issues in the economy, notwithstanding whatever else might happen in the world that might impact our economy as well. So it's a very big article in The Age that I was reading, Dennis, and I'm sure the report is even bigger.
133693. I'd love to hear from people. How hard do you work in 2022? How hard do you work these days? just to get through the work and to make things happen, especially people who perhaps run a small business. 133693, 133693. We do have a lot of public holidays, Theo, and we do have sort of 4 weeks annual leave. But in other countries like Japan, I think it's 2 weeks leave a year. That's why they go from the office or the factory straight to the airport, straight on their holiday, and then on day 12 of that 2 weeks, they start to head home and go straight back to work.
Yeah, and according to this report, Dennis, the theory is that if you get more rest when you return, you're more productive. And that's what they're claiming might happen with us here in Australia, is that over time, over the 52 weeks of the working year, we'd claim back 1 week of rest, the way that we're going, according to this report. Now, the thing that might not be picked up is that the way that we work has definitely changed. I mean, I've been working from home probably 3 days a week for the past 2.5 years. And I think that's reflective in just about every office-based job, at least.
Yep.
So, it depends on how you measure it. Well, the way that they've measured this is quite interesting, Dennis. I don't know whether you saw this, but they measure how productive Australians are by how long it takes for them to save to buy a mattress. And that's what they've been doing since 1901.
What?
Yeah, that's what this article says. So I don't know whether that's, in modern times a true reflection, but they still...
What's a mattress got to do with it?
I think it just shows, in terms of coming back to the economic status of families and how much savings and how much they're making as a wage and how much their expenses are as a household, how much then they've got to pay for that mattress or a bigger mattress. I think it might have been a queen size or a king size.
Did you say 1901?
That's when they started, yeah.
And what, we haven't changed the criteria since 1901?
Apparently they last measured this mattress measurement in 2019. I don't know about whether it will be included moving forward, but the article definitely mentions it.
133693, how hard are you working? Because Theo, 133693, I'd love to get your calls. Theo, a lot of people that I've spoken to, it seems to be a split group. There are the people who want to get back into the office. There are the people who believe they're actually working longer hours at home than what they were when they were in the office, and more productive hours, because there's not the distraction of the footy talk, the water cooler, the going for a coffee, maybe wandering out at lunchtime and maybe staying an extra 5 minutes over what their lunch break is. They just feel that they're more focused in the domestic environment than in the work environment.
Yeah, no, that definitely is the theory as well. I know that if I step out of my home office and go to the kitchen, my wife will say, "Can you please unpack the dishwasher?" And that's another hour there of housework. But notwithstanding that, the truth is, yes, if you sit there for 12 hours in front of your computer, you'll get through more emails and read more reports. But a lot of my colleagues also have the view that if you really want to progress in your career, and if you want to, be front of mind with the next vacancy that might come up the chain in the reporting line, you need to at least have some presence in the office in a physical way, in a way that doesn't impact people's health when we're in those periods that we were in the last few years. But that's definitely a part of it, because if you stay at home for the rest of your career, you're competing against people that will be, I guess, having that advantage by being in the office.
That's the next stage of this, isn't it? That's the next stage of as we move forward, and we all hope. I was speaking to someone today at the local supermarket, and she said to me, "I just want this year to be over," and I think that's sort of the vibe I'm getting from many people.
Well, look, absolutely, but we also need to be cognizant of, we can't fall into that trap of complacency either, Dennis, and that's been the balancing act the last few months. We know that for political reasons, the government have made certain decisions in recent weeks about, certain restrictions not coming back. But coming back to the key element here in regards to the working week, how that reflects productivity, how that means those vacancies that we have in the economy that we're finding hard to fill, for those who are in private sector particularly, it really comes back to how do you reward your staff so that they can feel like they want to, I guess, put in as much as they possibly can in an efficient way, because you can work 8 hours and not really do much, or you can have one great hour where, you get a lot of good work done because you're just, a bit on a roll, I guess. These are things that I've learnt in my experience, that certainly it's all about how anyone treats their staff. That's the most important thing in my mind in being productive.
133693. Are you working harder when you're at home? Are you working longer hours as a business owner at the moment just to try and serve your customers? 133693, or you can send an email, nights@3rw.com.au, or a text 0477 693 693. Back with Theo Zagrafos after these. It's 8:20. Theo Zagrafos, Monash councillor, is with me. We're talking about things that are in the news. Steve, good evening. Hello, Steve. Are you there, Steve?
Yeah, I got. How's that? Is that better?
Beautiful.
Mate, I'm 72 years old. I started work at 5 o'clock this morning. I'm on my way home. I'm a truck driver.
Whoa.
Tell those people to get off their butts, get back in the office where they belong, and do their job properly.
Hey, Steve, how long have you been driving trucks?
Since I was 21.
And you enjoy it?
Actually, I am now. I got sick of it there for a while, but I'm starting to enjoy it again. Yeah.
Hey, are you working this long a day because there's a shortage of people?
Yes. Not a shortage of people. Shortage of people that know what they're doing.
Theo, this is pretty inspiring at Steve's age to be working, 5 a.m. start this morning.
Yeah.
The worst thing that ever happened to the transport industry was letting those driving schools test and pass people for their licence.
Yeah. And look,
it all depends on what class licence you get, how thick your envelope is.
yeah, look, Steve, obviously you've got a lot of experience in the industry. We see here in Melbourne, the Montague Street Bridge is a classic where a lot of those drivers are inexperienced, and that's why they don't know that the bridge is there, or they don't know that there are requirements around what sort of vehicles can go under it. So I think, Steve, what you're saying is that you can't buy experience. However, as we know, in recent years, some of our older, I guess, Australians don't feel like they can go out there in society in the same way they did pre-COVID. So obviously, when you're in a truck, that's probably not a good description for this. But in other industries, Dennis and Steve, particularly in hospitality, I know some restaurants down my way in Monash where they've got older employees normally. They don't have them, 5 or 7 days a week. They might have them 1 day a week now.
But talking to Theo, talking to Steve there brings us back to what I heard with Neil earlier this week of the concept of letting people who are perhaps pensioners do a bit more work. There's a certain amount they can do each fortnight, but we need to get people like Steve back into the workforce. Here's a man who's completely committed.
Absolutely, and we were talking about earlier about what you coming back tonight, Dennis, and you wanted to do something that you enjoy, obviously. And there are many people. My father-in-law's in this bucket as well, who retired more than a decade ago, and he's finding that coming back to the productivity question, he's not really being productive. I mean, he's got his grandchildren now that are finishing year 12, so coming back to the pension and the tax, benefits that might come into play here. I think the federal opposition, the current opposition, the new one, the Peter Dutton-led opposition, have got a policy to actually get rid of that threshold where people don't have to lose their pension as much as what they currently do if they're in Steve's, age bracket. And I think that's what we need. I mean, we have no choice really at the moment. We really need to fill those positions. And there are people like my father-in-law, and I guess what Steve was saying, that are willing to work, maybe not full-time, but certainly enough to make that difference in our society and our economy.
Steve, what age do you reckon you might sort of start thinking about retiring?
Look, mate, my boss keeps saying to me, "You're not going to leave me, you old bugger, are you?" And I'm still driving B-doubles.
Well, good on you. You're going to wear out. You're not going to rust out.
I'll tell you one thing this week. I was at a place in Noble Park, and a gentleman came in there to put a container into the dock, and he backed into the wall 3 times.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
I won't say what nationality he was, but he was an Australian.
Can I just ask Steve, out of curiosity, does that have to get reported in some fashion internally, or what happens there? Is that person allowed to drive for the rest of their shift, or?
Well, mate, I don't know what goes on there, but he shouldn't have had a licence.
Well, that's a big issue there, Dennis.
It's a huge issue.
I was at Aldi one day, and an Indian bloke come in and asked me if I could back the truck into the dock for him.
Yeah, well, how do these people get their licence, Steve?
Mate, driving schools, there's TDT and you go on them, is the worst thing that ever happened to the industry. They should be driving schools, but they should never, ever be allowed to pass these people for their driver's licence.
Steve, you need to get to bed and get ready for tomorrow morning. Well done to you in your 70s, still working incredible 15 sort of hour days or more. Congratulations on your work ethic and good on you. On the text from Robbo, there's a baggage handler at Melbourne Airport in his late 70s, Theo, works harder than kids, 50 years his junior. He throws bags and crawls in cargo holds of aircraft like he was in his 30s. He's worked at the airport all his life. That's the kind of work commitment we need from the entire workforce.
Absolutely. That reminds me of when I met Tommy Hafey. He was about 81, looked like about, maybe 35 or so, and he could do about 50 push-ups without stopping. That's probably the same sort of character. But you know what, Dennis? Steve reminded me about the first time I ever drove a trailer. As an 18-year-old, I think I was moving houses, and it was an absolute disaster. I think it was about an hour just to do a 3-point turn. It was pretty comical. So he reminded me of that, but hopefully
I've tried it.
Do better this time. Yeah, absolutely.
I've tried it, and Ross Stevenson about 6 or 8 weeks ago on Breakfast, he gave some advice, and I've never pictured Ross as being a trailer reverser, but he was given some advice in his younger years, and it stuck with him, and I can't remember what it is, but it certainly helps when you are trying to get a caravan into a position at a caravan park or a trailer back into a driveway.
There you go.
It's pretty hard work. So, hey, Theo, fireworks can return to the G. They found the flammable cladding that covers part of the stadium isn't a fire safety risk. People still love their fireworks, don't they?
Yeah, I vaguely remember, was it the Melbourne New Year's Eve fireworks that were also cancelled at the last minute? I think, sometimes we as, I guess, those of us in local government and bureaucrats can be a little bit too risk averse on these things. I think, down at Monash at Jells Park, Dennis, you might know, we have our carols in the park.
Yes.
We cancelled the fireworks one year. This was a few years ago before COVID, and we had the biggest backlash you can think. I think it was actually a cost-cutting exercise. So I think this is great that the MCG will have fireworks again, and hopefully we can, whoever wins the grand final, I'm not saying it's going to be the Pies, but let's wait and see. But that night, we can have some fireworks there as well.
Hey, the other thing, a few weeks ago, there was a Geelong game. I think it was interstate. I think it might have been in Perth, and they had a lot of not fireworks, but those sort of those where they. No, where they just let off shots out of little cannons, and for the next 6 minutes on telly, you couldn't see the players or anyone. There was that much smoke around.
Oh, well, that's the most important thing. What looks good on telly with the footy, of course. So,
well, you couldn't see the players or the person who was doing the cross from the down on the boundary. It was hilarious.
They're not going to do that again. I can assure you of that.
Probably not. Theo, great to chat, and we'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Dennis. Get better. Thanks.
I will do my best. Theo Zagrafos, Monash councillor. If you have a health question, give us a call. And here's a question from me to you and from Dr. Ross Walker, who joins me next. How much do you consult Google, Dr. Google as they keep calling it, about some sort of illness or symptom that you might have? 133 693 3RW Nights. 133 693. It is time for health. If you have a health type question, healthy living. Dr. Ross Walker, of course, you're here on a Sunday night, but he joins me. I haven't spoken to him since I think we've both been, we're a year older. Dr. Ross, good evening.
G'day, mate. Yes, it was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, so we are a year older. So there you go. But I'm
you
sorry,
had a-
I've been struck down by COVID about a month ago, and I was very sick. Then I was away lecturing.
See, Ross, I had COVID, I think, in April. I can't remember. It might have been May. But since then, I've had a month of a cold, and now I've had this rhinovirus thing that's going around where you just simply wake up one morning without a voice.
And can I say, one of the greatest voices in Australia losing his voice is a little bit of irony there.
Well, that's. Thank you for your kind words, but very bloody frustrating, Ross Walker.
I can understand it.
Is this thing going around in Sydney as well?
Oh, yeah. Look, it's all over Australia. See, everyone's focusing on COVID, which is a significant illness and does affect many people. And this BA.5, I was vaccinated 4 times and I still got BA.5, the latest variant. But there's so many other respiratory